All right. Great day, everyone. We're extremely excited to be here. Welcome to another incredible episode of the Gale Show. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, my friend Jim, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm very present. I'm very thankful to be here right now. I'm just continuously amazed at the networks of incredible people that are coming together right now. And I was on the phone last night with the GSA, the Global Simultaneous Action Alliance. And these are a group of incredible human beings that are well connected and connected to social media. This group could reach hundreds of millions of people in 1 second. By pushing a button and sending messages out through social media. And so it's very exciting how all these components are coming together. So how you doing, Matthew?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Another awesome day, joyfully obsessed, doing what we're doing, helping people learn about growing food and permaculture. And I had a great conversation this morning with a gentleman in just outside Miami, actually, who's looking at becoming a Freedom Farm Academy owner. He was actually a big real estate investor, which leads us into who we're talking with today. A good friend of mine, someone I've admired for a long time. Just saw his journey when I first met Alfonso to where he is today. Way back 2005, 2006, I saw him at a number of events learning about how to public speak, actually, and really getting out of his comfort zone there. And today, speaking in front of thousands of people, night after night after night, in real estate and personal development and entrepreneurship, and helping people set up themselves to become financially free. So Alfonso, my friend, thank you for joining us on the show. It's so awesome to have you here. And I am looking forward to hearing your story and all the wisdom and experience that you have to share with us.
Good to be here, guys. I mean, if we're having a conversation about abundance, self-sustainability, freedom, that you have my attention.
Yeah. That is what we love to talk about, and it's what we love to help inspire in others.
Yes. No, it's great what you guys are doing. Congratulations, I have to say. And I'm here to serve. I'm here from a position of service. If what I have to share with your audience, if you could just take one thing and apply it to your life, it will change your life. So if you're just tuning in, who's ever tuning in, I want you to stay to the end, because I'm not going to be dropping nuggets here. Often people ask me, are you going to be dropping some nuggets? No, I'm going to be dropping bombs, right? Yeah. Things that you can take action on and actually do something and change your life, change your trajectory of the trajectory of your life.
Oh, that is so fantastic. And Matthew was sharing with me a little bit about your backstory, and it's fantastic. You've learned a lot, and you went through some pretty interesting and I'd say tough times, and those were some pretty good teachers, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. I mean, the life is the lesson. Life, your life is your biggest teacher, right? Often, people talk about the should-haves in life, and what happens is they don't do anything. And in my perspective, no one will ever remember you for something you almost did. You have to get out there. You got to take risks, and sometimes, you know what, you're gonna stand up against the big guys, right? When I started in real estate, people said, "Oh, it's impossible. You can't build a real estate business." Of course, anybody can dabble in real estate, but to compete with the big guys, you gotta be from a family, and you gotta have all this education, all these things. So there's always gonna be naysayers, and there's always gonna be obstacles. There's always gonna be the challenges. There's always gonna be pandemics. There's always gonna be turmoil in the world. But I know that no matter what happens, I'm going to win, right? Yeah. I know that. There's a COVID 30, COVID 45. Who cares? I'm going to win, right? And so that's the attitude that I have because of where I've come from, right? I've seen it over and over. We fall down, we get up. We fall down, we get up. And we were just talking about my mom.
Yeah.
I was born in the 70s during a civil war. Very corrupt government in El Salvador. And my mom was the owner and director of API News Agency, this news agency that would often report about civil rights abuses, happening in our own backyard. And, when you have a corrupt government like that, they don't want information out. it's not good news, right? It's not, it's, especially if they're being funded. The government was, back in the 70s and 80s, any government that was against, um, you know, um, against socialism or no or communism,
Yeah.
they would be funded. It doesn't matter if they were good or bad or corrupt. It doesn't matter. If you're against communism, boom, like we're gonna get you money. And so our government was being funded primarily by the US.
Yeah.
And so you don't want that flow, that cash flow, cash flow for life. You don't want that to stop. And so there was a lot of civil rights abuses that were happening at that time. And my mom was right there. She was a journalist, and she was writing about all the things, all the injustices that were happening. And it was a crazy time. I mean, they parked a tank in front of her office and pointed the tank right at the office, and just left it there as a sign of what's to come. They broke in the soldier. That we got a knock at the door one night. I was about 2 years old, and soldiers demanded to search our house. And when my mom walked into my room, where I was in the crib sleeping like a baby, there was a soldier with a gun pointed right at my head. Right, so a lot of threats, and she felt that she had a responsibility to the people, our people, right? And ultimately, she was shut down and illegally detained and brought to prison, where she was going to serve a 40-year sentence. Now, thanks to Amnesty International, a lot of other like NGOs and government entities, she was freed after 3 years. But in those 3 years, I had to live with my grandparents, where they kept me in hiding for 3 years. So, the biggest fear for my family was that I would be kidnapped in order for my mom not to continue to share her story. And so for 3 years, I was not allowed outside. I was not allowed to interact with other kids. I've never been to a playground. I was kept inside to about 5 years old, when we finally got asylum and we came to Canada.
Yeah.
And when we landed in Canada, it was a huge story. I mean, this is a huge civil rights issue. New York Times, Miami Herald, like the story was global, right? And the second we landed, there was like people taking pictures, Montreal Gazette, all these things. And so now, my mom had a voice. And so our government, believe it or not, our government actually sent death squads to find us in Montreal, Canada. And so we were only able to be in Canada for like about 8 months until we had to flee Canada. Think about that for just a moment. All the people trying to come to Canada, we had to flee Canada because it was no longer safe for us. I mean, we were chased all over Montreal. We had to stay in women's shelters and things like that until we moved back home to Nicaragua. And so that's kind of like the beginning of my life.
Wow.
Between the ages of 2 to 9, we spent it, running away from regimes, hiding from, all of these people, and going from country to country just to survive. When we landed in Nicaragua, communist Nicaragua, okay, and you want to think that there was everyone had the same or whatever. The problem was Russia, the USSR, really not even Russia, but the USSR was funding all these communist countries, and they ran out of funding.
Yeah.
And
1989, right?
Yeah, los Sandinistas, right?
Yes.
So now, no, sorry, this is I mean, it lasted to 89, but I mean, we're talking about 86 while we were.
Oh, okay.
You would go to the grocery store, there's no food.
Yeah.
There's just no food. There's nothing. There was no food. You couldn't even get an egg, right? You couldn't get an egg.
Yeah.
So because of that, another war broke out in that country. So then we had to flee that country. And so when we came back into Canada, we came as refugees.
Yeah.
And we landed in Vancouver. I was 9 years old at this time, and I've gone through all of that craziness.
Yeah.
And we're ready to start our life again, right?
Wow, that's amazing. And it gets you to think quite differently than if you were going to a standard school and doing your normal thing. You start looking for solutions in a different way, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, like ultimately, I didn't go to proper school. Like you go with other kids, you have proper grades or whatnot till I was 9, and it was in English, right?
Yeah,
And the biggest, the priority is to learn English. So we were in ESL, English as a second language,
yeah.
and so by the time they discovered that I have all of these gaps in my learning,
Mhm.
I'm in grade 7, right? So by the time I'm grade 7, they discovered that I couldn't even read.
Yeah,
Right? I couldn't read it. Now it's not I wasn't capable of reading. It's
of
just
course.
that I never had proper education because of
Yeah,
all the things that were happening in my life.
yeah,
And so at that time, you know, that this is where kind of my educational journey started in grade 7. You're like already 12 years old, right?
yeah.
And
Wow.
I went to like a special ed and
Yeah,
all these things to try to figure out what was going on, and ultimately, um I love books. I mean, I've
yeah,
read like hundreds and hundreds of books, but
yeah,
if you were to ask my teacher when I was 11 years old, they're like, this kid is he's disabled. They said I was disabled, like he can't read.
yeah.
We don't know what's going on with this kid.
That's amazing. And look at what you turned out to be, an incredible entrepreneur and businessman and thinker and thought leader. It's just, I think that it's such a beautiful thing. Adversity, a lot of people fear adversity. But like you said, you got to embrace the adversity as it's there and keep moving forward.
Yeah, so sometimes you don't it's easier to say, right? Like you
Yeah,
can't embrace it at the time that it's happening.
yeah,
Often people are going through tough times, and you can tell them it's going to get better. Just hold on, hunker down, right? And things will get better. But ultimately, the individual has to make that decision for themselves. you know Someone has to, you have to something has to click inside of you that says, I'm going to change this. I'm going to take control over my life, and I'm not going to allow any extra voices to come in and affect my reality and where I'm going. The other part of the story is that I got so frustrated in school that at 15 I dropped out of school, and I was also going through, I was going through some issues myself. I mean, if you see the life that I've had, um, at 12 years old, I asked my mom, "Where's my dad?" My dad had ran away during the war, so you know, I felt like, whoa. Why wouldn't he bring me with him, or why wasn't I good enough
yeah,
for my dad to want to connect with me or whatnot? And I've had a lot of like abandonment issues,
yeah,
and so very 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 clouded in my thinking, no self-worth, no confidence, just I didn't even feel like I was going to do anything with my life, and I didn't care. And so I also left home. Now I'm living on the streets,
wow.
homeless, panhandling for change, and just completely lost. My
Yeah.
moment of shift came when I was 17 and became a father. I don't know, Jim. We didn't talk about this, but do you have kids?
I have four daughters.
Beautiful. I got two daughters.
Yeah, awesome.
You're brave. No, I'm just
Yeah, I love it. They are they're our motivation, aren't they?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
it's just the
So how old are you when you had your first?
it was 18 years ago and I'm 53 now, so I guess I was 35.
Yeah, so 35. So 35, you're kind of gone through this like life, and you know
Yeah.
a lot about life. I was 17.
Wow. I mean, you're still a kid just
Yeah,
off the
yeah,
streets.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now, I definitely don't want to promote for people to have kids to change their lives.
Right.
But ultimately, what happened to me is that thought of being abandoned by my dad, and I didn't want to be that person. So whatever excuses that I had to put them on the side. Whatever blame that I had for society, the wars, or why my life was that way, I had to put it all aside, and and basically take care of this little girl, right? And through this little girl, and I call her my guardian angel. She's turning 28 this year, by the way. You know, I found strength. I found confidence. Actually, there was no choice at this point. I mean, I had to make something work, and you know, I found purpose. And without even knowing it, that is the main driver of anybody's you know, ambition or you know, determination. That is that is the gas that's going to keep that car going forward. And so that feeling of having this little girl and having, I wanted to take care of her, I wanted to provide for her, got me to think about myself. What was I going to do? Originally I just went back to school, and you know, I wanted to finish school, mostly because I didn't want my daughter to say, "Oh, you didn't finish school, so I'm not going to finish school." So I at least wanted to get my high school. I got a job, okay, at a restaurant washing dishes, and ultimately, um, I knew that that wasn't for me. $5 an hour, wasn't going to cut it. It wasn't going to cut it, you know, to raise a family. And so, what I did was I started a business, and it was a clothing business. I was selling T-shirts and jeans from my locker in high school, and I discovered the power of profits, and how the profits, you know, the second you start focusing on profits, you go back to your $5 an hour job. You're like, what am I even doing with my life? And so that business, by the time I was 21, it was a multi-million-dollar business with locations all across Canada. And I just, at that point, I just fell in love with being an entrepreneur.
Wow. What a great story. You're 21 years old and you're a multimillionaire entrepreneur.
I would love for the story to end there and then everything was hunky dory, right?
Oh, we got a lot more to learn.
Here's the problem. I never had any financial literacy at home, right? My mom, you know, love her to death, but all she could tell me is go to school, get a degree. If you get a degree, everything's going to be fine, and you know, somehow buy a house. If you could do anything, buy a house, and you're going to be okay. Get yourself a degree, a house, and just like that's all you. That's the life. That's your next 45 years, you know. And so there was a lot of you know, gaps in my financial literacy, and of course, being 21 years old and being successful at 21. If you anyone here would do anything different than what I did, I would challenge it, but pretty much spent all the money, you know, and I wasn't aware of market cycles. And so shortly after 9/11, people's behaviors changed. You know, we had like a mini recession after that time. Well, you know, there's the mixture of the dot-com bust and you know, 9/11. My business started to go down and I almost lost everything. And now, like, I'm 24, negative $1 million, right? And just about to go bankrupt. I didn't go bankrupt, but just about, until I realized like I have to change something here. And so I started to self-educate myself on finances, wealthy people, personal development, and I discovered that wow, like there's a lot of things missing in what I knew about business or my understanding of wealth. And that's when I turned to real estate. I noticed that the wealthiest people in the world own real estate. Mostly, you know, there's two big reasons. One is the tax advantages, and this is like a hard asset that, you know, it's tangible. Commercial real estate, specifically multifamily. And so I think it was 2002. This is when I started investing. And now I turned that into a multi-million-dollar portfolio across North America, Canada, and the US. And, you know, when I was 30, okay, this seems like a long time ago. I'm 45 now, but when I was 30, I was financially free.
Yeah.
And I'm wandering around the beach and I'm like, what the hell what was I fighting for? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I discovered that life was about fulfillment. And what brought me fulfillment was helping people.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I became a freedom fighter. a financial freedom fighter. I want to fight for people's financial freedom, and whatever the fantasy is of what you want to do when you retire, whatever retirement or freedom looks like to you, it's probably not it until you get there. And then now you're going to look for life fulfillment.
Yeah.
And my life fulfillment came through helping people. And I made a decision when I was 30 years old that I was going to dedicate the rest of my life to helping people achieve freedom through real estate.
Wow.
And this is where I'm at.
That is fantastic. We're all about freedom as well, from all perspectives, right?
Oh yeah, all perspectives. Look, I was early last year, January 2020, January 2022. I was driving down the highway, okay, towards Arizona, because I had an event in Arizona. We were driving, we drove across the border, all right, and I'm doing this event in Arizona, and I got all of these people waiting for me, that they're coming, they're flying from all over the world to go to Arizona, and I'm going to go deliver this message, and I'm sitting there with my wife, and this big 18-wheeler drives by with this big thing, Freedom Convoy, on the thing. And I said, honey, look at that. We're also on a freedom convoy. We're on a financial freedom convoy to bring people that message. And my message is clear. If I can give enough people their freedom, they will do amazing things in life. And that's what I want to be remembered for.
Oh, that's absolutely beautiful. So as a real estate, so you really know real estate, cash flow, values. So I'd love to take this opportunity to share our real estate model.
Sure, yeah.
All right, and get your opinion, your straight up opinion. Pick holes in it, find out whichever way it doesn't make sense, because it's all about always improving, always getting better, taking feedback, making adjustments, and improving. Yes. That's permaculture. That's the permaculture way. So here's our model. We are building what's called the Freedom Farm Academy. Are you aware that the food supply chain is in big trouble?
Well, I mean, there's definitely areas in this world where they don't have any food. Right?
Yeah,
that's scarce, right?
Yeah, you've noticed that eggs are going up way tons of price and meats and all. So this is kind of one of the things that we know a lot about. And the food supply chain is in big trouble globally, even here in the United States. So one of the things that we're doing with our real estate is the first thing we do is we use permaculture design. Let's say it's an acre of land. And on that acre of land, we will design in a permaculture perennial edible landscape, which will produce all of the food needed for not only that family, but also the families around there, to create if the food supply chain is in trouble, then to become part of the food supply chain is the solution. Mm-hmm. So the land, as you put in hundreds and hundreds of different food producing perennial plants, then the land goes up in value because it's actually producing massive abundance.
Yes.
So that's the first thing we do. Yes. Then we add in, whether it's a homestead, you've seen energy prices, they're going up like crazy. So we add in all the energy and all the water. So every piece of property, every piece of land, real estate, it becomes a completely off-grid food, water, and energy production system.
Beautiful.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Ultimately, so in real estate, okay, we look at the NOI. Okay, net operating income.
Yeah.
And, if you can, anytime you can increase that net operating income, you increase the value of the property.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you get rid of electricity and you put in solar, for example, right? So all of a sudden you've eliminated a bill that no longer exists. Now the property's NOI will increase because you no longer have that expense. Yeah. Often I teach my students that, go into a property and see what is needed. Where can we create more income? For example, laundry facilities, storage facilities, parking. Sometimes people have installed a vending machine, right? Just the vending machine, the income that vending machine can create ultimately, can impact the value of the property, right? So roughly the calculation, depending if you're going into a major market, if you're going on a 5%, 5 cap. So let's say the vending machine produces, let's say, for example, $100 a month. That's $1,200 a year. So $1,200 a year divided by a 5 cap, that gives you a $24,000 value, additional value to your property, right? And so, the that's where you guys are going. So, like, that's where you guys are coming from. There's other production can be, if the property can produce,
Oh my
or
God.
I have a reason to charge more rent.
Yeah.
If I have a reason to charge more rent because you have this food supply on the property, so it's like, yeah, you're gonna pay $100 more on rent, but you can go outside and pick tomatoes off off our tomato farm, or whatever it is. Now that $100 a month turns into $24,000 in new value of the property.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is so exciting, Matthew. This is a whole nother way to look at the value. So, okay, just for value's sake, take a fruit tree, go to the nursery, and you buy a fruit tree. Let's say it's a peach tree, and you pay $120 for that peach tree. Then you pay another $120 to put that peach tree in the ground using good soil and a gill. And now you've got $240 into that peach tree. Within 12 months, that peach tree is going to double, triple, or even quadruple in mass. If you bought that same peach tree at the nursery at that size, the value of that peach tree is more than doubled, right? So just on its own, you're going to get a double in your asset value on that peach tree. Now, when it starts producing, it can produce 250 poison-free peaches a year. Right? Call them $1 each at the store or whatever. Now you scale that. So now instead of having one peach tree, you got 200 different food producing fruit trees and another 200 or 300 different food producing berry bushes and grapevines. Now you've got $1,000 a month at minimum just on the food value.
Yeah.
So if
$1,000 a month, okay. So that's $12,000 a year. $12,000.
A 240K.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, divided by a 5 cap, that's 240,000. Yeah. New value on the property.
Man, that's a fun way to look at it. Now you show people how to turn those into demonstration centers. I can't wait to show you. When you come to Orlando, I would love to take you around.
Yeah, I was just there. I had an event in Tampa. In December. In December, I got to see Tom Brady for the last time, but but yeah, we were. So I brought all my students, and we were looking at what's happening in the U.S. with the real estate market. Obviously, it's correcting. A lot of people are stuck in flips that they can't sell. So what we're teaching some of those students is how to make more out of a property. So, like, for example, you get $2,400 from a 3-bedroom house that you were trying to flip. You can't sell it on the market. We were showing people how to turn that 3-bedroom into an 8-bedroom, and now it becomes a co-living space. So people now we solve a few problems. Number one, the guy that is trying to flip the property no longer has to take a big loss. Number two, now the property's cash flow increases so it can sustain itself. And number four, you're now helping someone that can't afford regular living accommodations, and now they can, let's say like a divorcee or a young executive or a student, they have a rooming, they have a house that is not expensive, then they would have to rent. So you solve multiple problems. And then let's add the sustainable farming that you guys are discussing. That's more revenue on the property that they would have had if they just rented it out traditionally.
That's awesome. I love this idea about creating extra value within a space just by coming up with new ideas. That's just beautiful.
Well, this is kind of like the market. You have to be able to shift and pivot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what happens is people are doing what everybody else is doing, and you know, a lot of people are just like they throw in the towel without even giving other options a try.
Wow. So, real quick question, and I know nobody has a crystal ball on this. What do you see happening to the real estate markets? And I know it's going to be different in different places, but what do you see in general happening to the markets?
Well, like, we're definitely going to go through a correction. And it's 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 intentional. It's an intentional correction. Um, Obviously, the biggest issue would be inflation, and you can't just print all of this money and expect not to have consequences. And obviously, the overprinting of money, quantitative easing, has created an issue with inflation that we're going to be dealing with for a very long time. So it's going to be like this. They're using the interest rate lever
Yep.
to manage that, but it's the wrong lever. It's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Because they're forgetting about supply chain issues. The biggest thing about COVID is that you broke the supply chain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when there's no supply and demand, simple economics 101. It's like, supply and demand.
Yeah.
And if there's no supply and there's a high demand, obviously the prices of everything will go up, right? And so the only lever that they have to play with is the interest rate lever, which the real estate is not even included in the basket of goods where they measure the inflation on. And so
Oh, wow.
the issue is it's the wrong lever. So for the short term, they're gonna they want to stabilize the real estate market, right? And then hopefully we go into a recession. We're already in a recession, but a full-blown recession where they can now bring down the interest rates, and hopefully, I mean, what they're trying to do is at some point stabilize it and go back to how things were in 2019. My space is apartment buildings, and people will always have to live somewhere. And the biggest thing about real estate, and if you want to become a real estate investor, which is why a lot of people get into trouble, if you buy real estate and you buy it with a position where you never have to sell, then nothing matters. All, like, wherever the market is, upside down, sideways, it doesn't really matter because you don't have to sell. The worst time to sell a piece of real estate is when you have to. And so, what happens is people go into this, they watch these shows and flip this and flip the other thing, and they think that, okay, I could just buy this. I put in new cabinets and new countertops, and all of a sudden I can sell it for $100,000 more. And so greed is where people get caught up, trying to double or triple their money. And what happens is you get met with a correction in the market. A lot of people are going to be underwater. And
Yeah.
so, um, what I try to help people is, first of all, let's take those assets where you could have gone bankrupt, and let's create more income, so at least it's sustainable for the next 3 years, so you can weather the storm. And now let's make better decisions on investing and buy assets that are going to create generational wealth, you know, long term, right? Because everybody's so focused on the get rich quick that that's not real sustainable wealth. I mean, flipping properties is great, but there's too much. You have the market, you have other competition. This idea that you got to keep flipping a property, keep flipping a property, keep flipping a property. For me, it's about the lifestyle. I love doing the job once, and it pays me for life. And it doesn't only pay me for life; it pays my kids, it pays my grandkids, it pays my great grandkids.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a lot of flipping in the day, and there's so many things that can come up. You can get one bad renter in there if it's a short-term rental, and then you flip, or you can have a foundational issue. There's a million things that the new people, they don't know what questions to ask, and they get in a lot of trouble. So what I'm guessing, you teach people how to look for those issues and
Yes.
how to avoid those by asking simple questions.
Yeah. So ultimately, the investments that people go after are the wrong investments, in my opinion. in my opinion. And so, you need to have long-term, you need to look at investments from a long-term perspective, right? Um, One of the biggest investors in our lifetime, Warren Buffett, he's not a flipper. He's not buying stocks and, selling them. He looks at good companies and he buys the stock when it's cheap and he holds on to them for life.
Yeah.
And so that's like, as simple as that is, most people want to get rich quick. And so, that this is where people get caught up. They buy wrong, they buy small, they don't have, there's not enough income on the property, and they end up, doing all of this work, when all they have to do is get educated on how to buy the right investments.
Yeah.
And they can build a portfolio that can stand the test of time.
Yeah. Regarding Warren Buffett too, because I've studied a lot about what he invests in. He invests in profitable companies that are often subsidized and part of government lobbying and the fascism that's going along, because he's part of the whole game, right? The companies he invests in are quite literally poisoning and destroying our world. So I like to call him out on that. If he invested, in fact, he just told the world, he said, I'm going to give my $96 billion when I die to a nonprofit, probably run by Bill Gates. I'm like, okay, Warren Buffett, if you want to leave a legacy, $96 billion could create $1,000 million or $96,000 million food forest demonstration sites around the world, which would radically change the world.
Sure.
It would absolutely free humanity.
Jim, this is what I would say to that. Okay. And I love where you're coming from. Get a seat at the table, right? Become Warren Buffett. And then you have the opportunity to do whatever you want to do, right? I have my vision. I know exactly what I want to do with my vision, right? I'm going to, the wealth I create is to help other people create that wealth. So if I help you get to that table, if I get you a seat at that table, then I know you are going to do the right things with your money, right? And you know what? Money's just a tool. It just makes you more of who you are, right? And if you're a good person, you have more resources and tools to do even better things.
Yeah.
My foundation, I have a youth foundation. It's a Cuadra Youth Foundation. I help young people. I teach young people between the ages of 12 to 17 financial literacy, because that's meaningful to me, right? That this is what's meaningful to me, and I know I can have an impact in that way. And so the Warren Buffetts, the whoever has money, right? What we need to study is how they got there, right? And the philosophy, right? So Warren Buffett's philosophy is buy good, buy cheap, right? So that's what I'm doing with apartment buildings. I'm buying good assets at really good prices. I teach people how to negotiate. Once I have the wealth, once I have a seat at the table, now I get to impact the world, right? And that's what I would say to anybody. Like, if you don't like how things are run, get a seat at the table. And if you create wealth, then you can donate it to this cause or create your own situation where you manage the money of where it goes. For me, it's, youth financial literacy is important, but that's right. What's important to you is, food abundance. And if we're all doing that and we all have resources to do it, it'll be like a renaissance on earth.
It will be. It's happening exponentially. So our Freedom Farm Academies, we are now opening up these demonstration sites in Ghana and Thailand and pretty soon Lebanon and Sri Lanka and Canada, all over the world. And this is, Victor Hugo said there's one thing stronger than all of the armies of the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. This is it. This is how we change the world. If we turn fiat is, like you said, it's a form of energy. And we turn that energy, which is, by the way, going down at an exponential rate, partly due to the fact that they just increased the money supply by 65% over the last 3.5 years, right? And so that's going down while the value of real assets, relatively speaking, is going up. Awesome, man. So go ahead, Matthew.
Well, and like Alfonso says, getting the seat at the table and how critical that is by taking action on your beliefs, working towards things that add value. The more value you add, the more value that comes back to you. Sometimes it's in the form of dollar bills, but then being able to take that value that you're getting and utilize it to empower other people to do good with what their talents are and their purpose is really, one of the major core drivers of what Alfonso does, of what we're doing, of what people who are intent on making drastic change in the world, they're really putting their attention on those type of things. And it's an incredible time to be alive, really, as we're going through, the turmoil in so many different places. There's also a lot of greatness that's happening where people are really focused on these solutions that can make dramatic, like Alfonso said, the Renaissance on Earth, right? We get to have this chance to rewrite the way things are going by putting our attention on the things that we know can make the biggest impact for the future. We're intent on helping kids. Alfonso's intent on helping kids. How many people out there today are making that one of their major goals, right? It's incredibly exciting. And, with what I have saw Alfonso do over the years and how he's just been able to take his experiences and breathe that into other people through the inspiration, through telling his story, through great use of words, that kind of thing. And Jim, you have the same type of ability in your communication to inspire. And that inspiration that both of you guys bring to the world is just so powerful today. And I just want to, I've been listening to this conversation, and I'm really grateful to have both of you share everything that you've been sharing and learn from you guys over the years. And it's just, it's so exciting.
Yes, sir.
One of the things, we're building a school on our property in our Freedom Farm Academy. It's going to be a 25 student school with 2 teachers, K through 12. And our curriculum is done by world-class educators and amazing. And the first thing that the students are going to learn is self-reliance. That's going to be the whole premise of the school, which is voluntarism, which is entrepreneurialism, regenerative capitalism, and how to create their own food, water, and energy systems, and then how to build community. Like, how important is your community? I'm talking about like your business networking community and stuff. How important is that in the big picture?
Well, the only reason I am here is because of community, right? First, no person is going to be able to get there by themselves. And if you're trying to do it all on your own, you're only going to get as far as your own capital, your own time, your own capabilities. But when you start building community and you start getting other people engaged in a vision, things start to really move quickly. And so I love what you're doing, Jim. Like you're taking your wealth, and then you are now investing in the things that you find that are valuable, and that is the times that we live in, right? Create wealth. LeBron James opened up his own school, right? P. Diddy opened up his own school, in terms of what he feels got him to where he's at today. All of us are, now that we are getting wealth, in the next 5 years, you're going to see the biggest wealth transfer in history, because now more than ever, everyone has a chance, right? If I was born in the 60s, economically, I would never even have a chance. I'm a visual minority. Like, there's no way I would get a seat at the table. Now, everyone is going to get the opportunity to have a seat at the table. And then what happens? We all come with what's valuable to us, right? And we start investing into infrastructure to support people. Elon Musk, people say, you could have take all that money, instead of going to Mars, you could invest it right here. But guess what? That's what he feels is valuable. And, that's a mission, right? That's a mission that he has. You have a mission. We all have a mission. Collectively, together, we're going to change this planet.
We are. There's no doubt. It's changing exponentially right now. Anyway, supposedly we're going through the 6th mass extinction, and the cancer rates, diabetes, heart disease rates are all skyrocketing. and we know why. It's the poisons and the poison producers. So then that's why I'm so passionate about what we're doing. One of the things I was imagining is you actually somehow engaging with you to teach entrepreneurialism.
I was imagining the same thing.
Yeah, in the Freedom Farm Academies.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Alfonso can be one of the teachers we bring in to bring your loving energy. You really have a beautiful energy about you.
I appreciate it. I mean, I definitely resonated with everything you said. You guys are on the right mission, and you know what? Like I'm your biggest cheerleader.
Awesome. Well, one thing I'm excited to share with you our full business model for the Freedom Farm Academy, because then you bring in rentals, and now the people that are coming through Airbnb or through different rental options can, all of the food that they want to eat is produced on site, and of course it's poison free, so it becomes a healing center. So now we're adding in the healing modalities, and we're adding in the demonstration and education different options. So it becomes a major place of learning, and it becomes part of the supply chain for the community as this stuff which is coming for sure. There's major things happening with supply chains, especially food and all the rest. As that happens, we supplant the current unsustainable system with a new system that's regenerative, and everybody wins.
I can definitely see locations with multi-unit buildings on it where the people who live there, that's one of the bonuses for them to live there. Plus they get that experience of helping to care for the food forest, the energy production systems and all of that. You know, living in a location like that, especially as things begin to shift as far as supply chain goes globally, you know, yeah.
Look at that.
This is where I was this weekend. I was in Mont Tremblant, and there's this development. I don't know if you see this here. You see behind him there's a dome?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I asked the gentleman, why did why did they create this little farm? So you got chickens and roosters, you got eggs, you got cows and all kinds of stuff. And like, why did you create this little farm? And it was all based on this little dome, right? Wow. This little dome, people rent it out, and people stay in these domes. You know, there's domes and yurts and all kinds of things. And what they want is they want to go back to Earth. They're willing to pay for the farming experience, right? Yeah. This farm is really not even. It wasn't created to create food or anything other than just get people involved with nature again, connect people with nature again, and people are willing to invest their good money to have that connection.
Yes,
that's right.
Yeah. People definitely are craving getting back reconnected to nature.
Yeah.
You know, you're seeing as the past 3 years have kind of unfolded, and people have been more disconnected from each other, more connected to technology, stuck in their concrete jungle. You can see the craving in humanity to simplify and re-get connected to source and nature. That's why we're seeing, the big boom in spirituality and meditation and movement and yoga and all those things, and experience on retreats and getting back out into doing that kind of stuff, because that disconnection, I think, is causing a lot of issues come from that, right? If we're not connected to each other, we're not connected to nature, we lose sight of really what's important. And we're getting too driven into this metaverse type of technology, the phone all the time. And that's having ripple effects, not only for the adults, but into the children. And you're seeing kids today with more and more of the attention deficit issues. Well, I think a major driver in that is the connectedness to the technology. And if we can get kids back into nature, that helps them settle their nervous systems down, helps them with their focus. And at that point, we can start inspiring through education on how to really course correct and get them being incredibly productive.
My friend's uncle owns a plantation, a coffee plantation in Nicaragua. And he called my friend, and he's like, "What's going on in Canada?" He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, people are paying me to pick the beans. All these Canadians are flying down, paying this plantation to,
Isn't that amazing?
they pay to work.
Yeah.
It's like because people are craving experience. People are craving just picking something off of a tree and just eating it, or just walking on earth barefoot.
Yeah.
All of these things is people are human beings are craving that. At this
They
point.
are back to Eden, back to nature,
Yeah,
back to
yeah.
source, God, love.
Yes.
So, on your properties, you've probably got a lot of lawns, right? Lawns
Yep.
are normal. So, and probably some ornamental plants. Okay.
So we try to, in terms of because I have apartment buildings, I don't have any houses.
Yeah.
What my focus is multifamily, and we do have land and things like that, right? Yeah.
So here's my thought. There are 44 million acres of lawn in the United States alone. When we transform 50% of that into regenerative edible landscapes, and here's the key. You take the ornamentals and you put in food producing plants. That one change will add habitat and beauty and butterflies and birds and songs, and it will feed a lot of people, and it will bring so much joy. Just that one simple shift in putting blueberries and raspberries and perennial plants that take the same amount of maintenance as the ornamentals.
Yeah. So we had one of our, a few of our buildings, the tenants, they've organized this garden. So we have some gardens on our properties where they're completely maintained and serviced by the tenants, and everyone just gets to go and plant their own thing. They all get their own little corner and stuff like that. So, we do a lot of things. We want to make sure that all of our apartment buildings, they're like little communities, right? And for us, if people are plugged into community, if people are plugged into their surroundings and what's going on, the idea is that first of all, they're not going to want to go somewhere else, but they're also not going to they're going to take better care of their property. They're going to they're not going to throw garbage on the ground because they have more ownership over where they live. And for us, it's just a management mechanism that if we create little communities, then we don't have to. It's not as intensive on the management.
Exactly. Well, I'll plant one little seed and then I have to fly. This seed is when you plant, let's say you've got the edge of your property and you put 20 or 30 different fruit trees with 10 to 15 variety around the edge of your property, and along the edge you put bushes and berries and all that. It will radically change the feeling, the value of the land. It'll support life in epic ways. Just wanted to plant that seed, my friend.
Yeah, no, it's incredible talking to you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing. You're following your mission, and you know what? And you're getting a seat at the table, and then you're putting your money where your mouth is into the things that you find valuable. And that, my friend, I have so much respect for.
Awesome. Alfonso, man, it's such a pleasure. I'll jump off. Matthew can do a further goodbye, but man, please come and visit me when you're in Orlando.
Alfonso,
Yes,
where can I got your website up here, but where can people find you?
Very simple. Just Google me.
Just Google you.
Or go on YouTube. If you go to YouTube or Instagram, very Googleable.
Yeah.
On YouTube alone, I have about 1,050 videos talking about all kinds of things that I find important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if anybody goes there and they find any sort of value, if anything I say there resonates with you, just send me a DM and we'll connect.
Outstanding. And you have your real estate education program going on, Wealth Genius.
Yes,
where can people find out about that?
Wealthgenius.ai.
Wealthgenius.ai. You want to give a little bit of a quick commercial about what you do there?
Yeah. Again, if you go on my channel and anything that I say resonates with you, you can reach out. Basically, the Wealth Genius, it's a community of like-minded people. We have education, we have engagement, and we have everything there. If someone wants to build a legitimate real estate portfolio, we have everything in one place. So it's your entire business in a box: coaching, mentoring, community, capital, whatever it is that you're looking for, it's there. And if you go to my YouTube channel, if you like the things that I'm saying, and all you it's the subscription is free. You subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you like anything that I'm saying there, it all relates back to Wealth Genius and what we're teaching our students. And people that never invested into real estate before find themselves having a long-term sustainable portfolio because of the teachings that we have in Wealth Genius.
Mm-hmm. Man, it lights you up. I know how it makes you feel, because you can see it every time you begin talking about it. You can see the smile come on your face, the passion you have for helping other people. And I'm so thankful to know you and to see your own trajectory, what you've gone through to get where you're at now, and to just know that you've found that true purpose for yourself and your intent on leaving the world a better place than you found it, and bringing a lot of people along with you to whatever level they're hoping to attain.
Yeah,
that really is, that's the spice of life, man.
that's
The
it.
spice of life, and you got it. You can see the spice all over you.
One is because I'm Latino. Always a little bit spicy,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
second of all is every single human being on this planet, 7+ billion people. Everyone has the ability to make an impact on this world.
Mhm.
And if we can inspire even 10% more to do so, it would be a renaissance on earth.
Yeah, yeah. We had a conversation with a 5-time world champion kickboxer yesterday, actually. And one thing he brought up was how one coach said one thing to him that was a belief. He believed in him before he believed in himself.
Yeah.
And what a difference that made for his life and his trajectory. Did you have someone like that for you? Did you have someone that saw something in you, that told you they saw it, and it
Yeah.
made you behave in a different way?
Well, I did share that I grew up with no father.
Yeah.
And for a young boy, right? My mom was my dad and my mom at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and she did the best that she could, But for a young boy growing up in the 80s, that was like that father figure was really missing from my life.
Mm-hmm.
And when we moved, when we immigrated to Canada the second time, and we were living in Vancouver, my mom would do Spanish classes. And obviously she has no babysitting or care, she had no child care. So she would bring me along, and she would just say, hey, play in the corner, and then I'm going to teach this person Spanish or whatnot. And so she was teaching Spanish to this group of ladies. And one of the ladies, were the house that we were going to, the lady had her husband there. And he wasn't interested in learning Spanish. And he just sees this young immigrant boy, kind of like bored. And his name was Peter. And he said, hey, you want to go outside and play catch? And so every single time my mom would say we're going to that house, I would look forward to going to that house because Peter would be there. I would
Yeah.
say, is Peter there? Is Peter there?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they moved to Ottawa. And because these are the only people that we knew in Ottawa, we actually stayed with this couple, right? And they opened up their homes to us. And then Peter and I got really close. He was like my father figure. He taught me how to skate, all the things that, regular fathers would do.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have kids. And so I became that, that kind of like kid in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And after we moved out of that house and so on, so he always kind of kept in touch. He wasn't part of a Big Brothers program. He wasn't part of he never asked for any recognition, nothing. But then I went through my dark phase in life, where I was living on the streets, and I'm going through this dark time. And then
Yeah.
I'm 17, and I'm trying to get my life together. And just like the changing of the seasons, you always get a little bit of the last season into the new season, and it's never like a clean transition. I'm trying to
Yeah.
transition into my new life, but there's always these little things that of my old life that are going to try to pull me back in. One of those things is that when I was 15 years old, I got into trouble, and not a crazy, nothing serious, right? But I had to go to a court case.
Okay.
Now, having a charge on my record at 17 years old, um, that would have prevented me from ultimately starting my business, because
Mm.
part of my business was traveling to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this at the time, but my mom had told Peter, and Peter came to my house, where I was living at the time, and he said, "Oh, here you have this court case, and do you have a suit?" And I said, "Well, I don't have a suit. I don't own a suit. Never worn a suit." Okay, so 17 years old, never in my life have I ever put on a suit. And like I shared with you before, at 15, I had no confidence. I had zero self-worth. And so, like, a suit would be the last thing on my mind
Yeah.
to ever even buy.
Yeah.
He said, "Well, if you wear a suit, then you show respect for the court, and the judge is going to take you more seriously." So he says, "Let's go get you a suit." So he brings me to a secondhand store. I don't even know my size. We grab a few suits from the rack. I go into the change room. I put on a suit, and then I come out and I look at myself in the mirror. Matt, for the very first time in my life, I saw possibility.
Wow.
For the very first time in my life, I I I saw myself as, like, I didn't even recognize myself, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My all my low self-esteem, everything, it's like I never was able to look at myself in the mirror, right, and say, "Oh, wow, this person can achieve something,"
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so, you know, when you asked that question, I remembered that moment where I actually saw all that I could be
Yes.
that
Yes.
mirror, right? And we're so quick to judge ourselves, we put
Mm-hmm.
ourselves down, and we don't see ourselves for what we could be.
Yeah.
And often I'm looking at people, when I walk down the street and I see a homeless person, right? And I see where I am in life. That person that's laying on the ground has no idea that they have the capability of living the same life that I'm living.
Yes.
Because I'm no different than that person.
No.
I'm
Yeah.
no different than that person that's laying on the ground, sleeping on the ground, because I was there. And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yes. Yes. And that's what you get to do now for others.
Yeah.
You're taking people who come to you with a dream and hope, and they're taking a risk. Now you get to say, you can do that just like I have.
Yeah.
And you probably don't know this, but I would imagine that lots of those people would have a story to share about how you gave them that confidence to go achieve something they always wanted to do.
And that
So,
will be my legacy, right?
yeah.
I don't want to be remembered for the buildings. I don't want to be remembered for cars or anything. I want to be remembered for the people that I've helped.
Yes. Yes.
And I want an abundance of human beings out there, sharing their story. And you know, whether I'm here for the next 100 more years or I'm gone at some point, it really is irrelevant, because my legacy is going to go live on with those people that
Hmm.
have now turned around and done great things with their lives, and
Yes.
created freedom in their lives, and they can invest into whatever they feel that is meaningful to them.
Yes.
And if everyone did that, imagine all the great charities, all the great things that would happen on this planet.
Totally. The financial freedom really is that difference maker, because everything we do now for the majority of people, they trade all their time for dollars, and it prevents them from going after dreams, the things they would really do if the dollars weren't the thing they had to chase.
Yeah.
And what you're teaching people is incredibly valuable, because as you help them realize financial freedom and discover what now they can do with this free time they've created for themselves, that is where the difference comes, right? When once they have that space to clear their head and not be focused on earning the dollar to put a roof over their head or to feed their kid or whatever, they get to now go back to the childlike times and the dreams they had. And then grab a hold of those dreams and truly get to chase them, which is now their new purpose. So, man, I
appreciate you, brother. I
appreciate you too, man. Thank you so much for making time today to come on the show and join us, and for sharing your story and just being so open with your, your past and where you're headed now. And I hope that people who watched the show today got some great value out of this, that they find you through Wealth Genius or through Alfonso Cuadra.ca, and you guys get connected and you grab some new people by the hand and show them what's possible for them.
All I can say, who's ever watching this, we'll see you at the top.
See you at the top. Lots of love, brother. Have a great day. Thanks so much, man.
Right. Take care.
Talk soon.
Is that stopped?
No, I'm just going to play an ad, and then I'll just pop you out of this. Okay. So you can head out, and I'll chat with you a bit after.
All right, my man. So
Thanks,
I just log off, right?
Yep.
Okay. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
At Weston A. Price Foundation, we're dedicated to restoring nutrient-dense, farm-fresh foods to the human diet. We look to ancient food and health practices for clues on how to live our healthiest, most vibrant lives today. Join the mission and check out our exclusive membership details at westonaprice.org. As a member, you'll receive our quarterly journal on wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts, our annual shopping guide, monthly access to private Q&A sessions with experts, consultations on state laws, regulations, and policies, including food freedom legislation, and so much more. Weston A. Price Foundation. Let's return to wise, traditional foods.
Hey, Jim Gale Show listeners, again, thank you for tuning in. We love having you here. We're so honored. And, I want to give you a little bit of exciting news. We've decided to offer complimentary food forest strategy sessions with a certified permaculture designer. These are 30-minute sessions where you get to sit down with someone who can really help you with a strategy for your own property. It's a great chance for you to ask some questions and learn and just really to dig into what's possible. This is 30 minutes with someone who's certified, knows all about permaculture and what's possible using this incredible science and working with nature. So head over to foodforestabundance.com and schedule your 30-minute food forest strategy session today. Again, that's foodforestabundance.com. And remember, get yourself registered for that 30-minute strategy session. And for doing so, we're going to give you a $100 coupon as well. So get over there, have some fun, learn about what's possible for you and your own property, and let's get growing some food. Thanks again for tuning in to the Jim Gale Show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Hope you found the conversation valuable. If you did, please like it, share it, let other people know. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all again soon. Another great episode of the Jim Gale Show. Have an amazing day.